Yes. Okay, guys. Today we are going to talk about machine learning, AI, and algorithmic trading, and how. And the question that we are going to solve today is how we can implement AI and machine learning for algorithmic trading. That's going to be like that's the last session of a series of sessions that we started 3 weeks ago about data science for trading and how you can use data science in order to enhance your performance in terms of trading, and how you can use data science in order to predict the market. Just some few words about me. I'm going to present you this session. My name is Sajid Lassani. After a bachelor in mathematics and master in engineering, I pursued this master in finance and big data. And I have been mainly working during the last 3 years on the London Stock Exchange. I have been working with different teams of traders, and I was modelizing and I was automating different processes. And before that, I have been working for a French bank at the European Central Bank. And today, during this session, I'm going to introduce you about AI and machine learning for algorithmic trading. But just before to start, I'm just going to ask you some questions just for me also to get the trend and to know a little bit more about you, and in order also for me to be able to give like the right pace to the presentation. If you can just go okay, let me send you like the link for the poll. Let me find the link. How to use it? Link. Okay, I'm just going to share with you the link. And if you can just like access to the link, and we are just going to go like through some quick question. Let me. I put a link on the chat. You can just click, and we are going to go through just 2 quick questions, just for me also to get to know more about you, and to know mainly to know like who was present during the first session when we start introducing mathematics for trading. Okay, I can see that that's 1/3, 2/3. Okay. Okay, perfect. It looks like a lot of people. Okay, and now the second question will be, what is your experience with AI and machine learning? So guys, just can you hear me well, because I have like a mic. I'm not sure if like the sound is good. If you can just tell me on the chat if everything is right. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that means I'm going to go a little bit more. I'm going to go a little bit more in terms of theory, as I see that there is a lot of beginners. And guys, just if you want to be able to code at the same pace, there is a link right here that I put in the chat, and you're gonna be able to receive by email the Python notebook that we're going to use for this session, and in order for us to be able to code at the same pace. I think someone didn't close his mic. Let me just take a look. Yeah, so I'm just going to mute you, like just for the. But yeah, and also feel free. Like I have like the chat just right here, which means like I'm going to keep the chat open. And like if you have like any question, just like put me on the chat, and I can just like stop. What is the goal here is like to make the session as much interactive as possible. And if you have like any question about some concepts, just feel free to drop a message, and I'm going to do the best to go, because like that's very important for you, mainly to understand the mathematical intuition which is behind. Because like you will see that today, like with all the libraries which are like on the market, that's quite easy to code, but most important, mainly like it's important to get like the biggest pictures. Okay, Okay, let's start by just like talking about the plan and how this session is going to be divided. So the main question that we are going to try to solve is how can we use AI and machine learning for trading, and how AI and machine learning can help you to enhance your profit in terms of trading. So, and how we are going to divide this this session. We are going first of all to talk about the type, which angle in terms of AI and machine learning that we are going to use, which angle and which type of algorithms that we are going to use, and mainly we are going to focus on the classification algorithm. I don't know if there is how many of you are get used or already like worked with classification algorithm, but we're going to take a little bit of time to start by talking about classification algorithm, how does that work, and how we can use this type of classification, and how traders around the world are using the classification algorithm in order to predict what is going to happen tomorrow on the market and to predict the next move on the market. So we're going to start by talking about a little bit about theory. And after that, we are going to talk about data modelization, which means like we are going to develop like a data model, because for people who are here during the first session, how did we work? We work like, first of all, we download the market data, which means like we got market data and we download the market data. After that, we implement our mathematical equation. Like we had like some mathematical equation that we had in mind. And we took a look and backtest if this mathematical equation is profitable or not. That's how it works. But here, like in terms of data models, that's going to be slightly different when you are going to use machine learning. Essentially, how we are going to work, the first and most important key gonna be how to get a constant flow of market data. We are going to cover this point, but a little bit quicker because we already covered it last time. But after that, we are going to talk about how we should the different points that we should introduce, which means like adding extra variables. After that, we're gonna need like some data cleaning here and here. And after that, dividing our data sets and training a model. And one of the main key gonna be to get a model which is as much efficient as possible.
And allows you to move up it, VA with all areas of life.
So yes, perfect. Okay, and we are going to try to solve this key, which means like we want to be efficient because we can't accept like a model which is going to take 8 hours to run, which means that we're gonna need to go slightly deeper in terms of mathematical intuition. Okay, guys, now we can start. And just before to start and before to modelize and to execute our machine learning algorithm, we are going to talk about like the angle that we are going to use in order to develop our data model. So for people who already like have experience with machine learning, the classification algorithm is a type of algorithm that we are going to use in order to clusterize the population. For instance, let's take this situation. We have two variables, a variable A and a variable and variable B. And within this variable, as you can see, let's say we have like different type of data points. Here you have different type of data points. And up here we have like two type of data points. And as you can see here, the boundary is like quite obvious. And how the classification algorithm is going to work, essentially the classification algorithm is going to draw what we call an hyperplane or a decision boundary. And this hyperplane also called decision boundary, is like either hyperplane or decision boundary. That depend like there is two ways of calling it, decision boundary. And the decision boundary in this type of classification, which is a binary classification, the type of formula for your hyperplane is going to be something like ax plus b. And based on this hyperplane, let's say you're gonna get like a new data point, which is going to be here. Like if you have like a new data point here, or a new data point which is going to be here or to be here, like the classification algorithm is going to say, okay, this data point is going to have the same behavior as this other data point. Let's say if this other data point are, let's say, let's take an example of profitable trade. Okay, if this new data point is within this class, which means like in this part of the graph, like above the hyperplane, it's going to have like the same behavior as other data points. And similarly, if you have like a data point which is here, that's going to be the same. And another way of seeing the classification algorithm, for instance, I don't know how many of you are using Netflix, but let's take the example of Netflix. And let's take an example of 3 people. Let's take an example of Maria. Maria, who likes to watch fantasy movie, who like science fiction, and let's say Maria, let's say she watch La Casa de Papel, she watch Queen's Gambit, she watch Gladiator. And by another side, you have a guy that you can call Dario, for instance. And Dario is a guy who likes to watch history documentary, or like history and geography documentary. And how does the classification algorithm is going to work? Essentially, let's say there is like this new guy that you can call James, and James have watched La Casa de Papel and have watched Gladiator. Because let's say Maria, she watched also Squid Game, because this new guy that is called James have the same interest than Maria on these two different movies. The classification algorithm is going to recommend to James this movie and this movie, because as you can see, like if you explore what's happened within Netflix algorithm through a data perspective, you're going to have all the different data points through different variables. You have like multiple axes. You're going to have like multiple data points, and James and Maria are gonna be classified. Let's say here science fiction movie, like which grade. You have like all the different variables, and based on this variable, you're gonna create like different clusters. And when there is all people within the same cluster who like this type of movie, that's going to recommend this type of movie for other people which are in the same cluster. And that's how the classification algorithms are working. Essentially, you have your data that clusterize your data, and based on this cluster, you are going to predict the market. And how we can use the classification now, how we can use the classification algorithm for trading, and how traders are using it in order to enhance their trading prediction, how people are going to use it in order to predict the market. That's going to be relatively same. Let's say you have different variables. Here you have, let's say, your volume traded. Here you have the percentage of move. Here you have let's say your relative strength index. Here you have like you have your ADX, which are just different indicators on the market. And based on all these indicators that you have on the market, how the classification algorithm is going to work for each one of this market. Let's say this data point have shown a high profit. As soon as you get like a new data point which is going to be within this same cluster, we are going to classify as a buy signal, and that's going to tell to the algorithm and to the automation or to the robot, you have to buy the market. And that's exactly what we are going to do today. We are going to go step by step in order to develop our first machine learning algorithm in order to predict the market. So, and that's exactly the same. And again, if you have like any question, or if I'm not enough clear, just let me know in the comments, if you're able to follow, because like the mathematical intuition behind that's key also. Mainly when we're gonna start like developing the model, that's important to understand all the mathematical intuition behind before to start. And this type of algorithm are very new for trading. If you take a look at Google Scholar, and if you take a look at the latest thesis and the latest thesis on this subject, you can see that's a type of algorithm which is like many used since 2018, but that's something which is today mainly highly adopted on the market. And today that's exactly what we are going to develop. So how we are going to develop how are we going to develop our algorithm before to start coding? If you take a look at the yes, I can send you up. I can send you the Jupyter link. Okay. I can't send you directly the Jupyter link within the chat. Okay. Let me take a look if I can send it within the chat. 1 second. Okay, let me try to send it within the chat. Okay. Okay, let me send it within the chat. Okay, download. Wait. Up.
I just sent it, don't worry.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Christian. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Okay, now, and as soon as you got it, just guys, let me know. I'm just going to wait like 1 minute before to start coding. I'm just going to go step by step about how we are going to develop our AI in order to predict the market. So the first step going to be to import the libraries that we are going to need. Essentially, we are going to use like pandas and NumPy in order to predict the market. We are going to use scikit as a machine learning library. We are going to use Talib in order to develop some technical indicators, because we are going to talk about we're going to need to add extra variables. We are going to use Yahoo Finance in order to download market data, and Plotly and Matplotlib in order to plot our visualization. So first step, download the market data. After that, we're just gonna visualize quickly the data that we download. After that, little bit of data cleaning. We are going to add different variables in order to give as much information to the robot. I'm going to go much more in depth about all the different variables that we are going to add to the robots. After that, we are going to set the target and to define our targets. I'm going to explain you how we are going to use the percentile in order to discriminate the period of low and the period of high. And after that, little bit of data cleaning, and then we are going to implement our AI machine learning. We're going to talk more in depth about the hyperparameters, which are going to be key, mainly for trading. You will see why afterwards, and draw our confusion matrix in order to get more information about the performance and the classification reports, and finish by backtesting and see the impact on the market. Okay, okay, guys. Let's quickly visualize how we are going to work. So the first step gonna consist of downloading market data, which means you're gonna start by downloading market data, and this step is key. Essentially, like how we are going to work, we're gonna get our first data set with the market data, which are going to be what we call the OHLC. OHLC correspond to open price, highest price, lowest price, and closing price plus the volume. We're gonna get our market data. On top of this market data, we're gonna add some different indicators in order to help the robot to get the right information and for the robot to be more accurate. Because if you just get your OHLC, in terms of accuracy, that's not going to be enough for the robots, And also this value will not be indexed, which means like that's going to cause trouble in terms of market prediction, which means we are going to add some well-used technical indicator. And once we're going to get these technical indicators, we are going to divide our data within three categories. The trade which have been profitable, the trade which are in between, and the trade on which that's shown loss. And we are going to divide this data set between a training and test data set. And once we get the market data, we are going to divide it between training and test data sets. And based on this test data sets, we are going to train the model, which means we are going to train the algorithm to understand by itself how to detect if the market is going to go high or to go down when we're going to get new market data at the end. And we're going to evaluate it at the end. Okay, so now, and if we have to modelize, first download market data, then add variables in order for the machine to have as much information as possible. Once we're gonna give all these variables to the machine, we're gonna then create our machine learning algorithm, and once we're gonna create the machine learning, we're gonna ask this predictive algorithm to predict the markets, and we will evaluate the prediction if that have been accurate and by how many percent that have been accurate. And you will see the algorithm coding live, and you're gonna analyze the confusion matrix together in order to evaluate this specific algorithm. Okay, guys, let's start by downloading market data. I guess now everyone must have got the Jupyter notebook. Okay, let's start by downloading the market data. Okay, last time we have covered this point on how to download market data. I know it must be a lot of people in this group who already access to the course because I shared it last time. Yeah, you have like much more information if you want to go more in depth within this course, like on all the steps for anyone who wants to start. Yeah, so in order to download the market data, we are going to use Yahoo Finance API. How Yahoo Finance API is working, if you type Shift plus Enter, you're going to get your information. Essentially, what is good with Yahoo Finance API is because you can get live market data with less than 0.1 second lag, which is very, very interesting. For instance, if you type BTC USD up, as you can see here, we have like the market data for 6:26 and 0.2 seconds, which is very interesting because you can get your latest market data. But for this example, this algorithm is optimized to work on the US market, and you will understand why this algorithm is optimized for the US market. So, and we are going to deploy this algorithm to trade on Tesla on a day trading perspective. That's why if you go back on Yahoo Finance API, the algorithm that you need, there's one mandatory argument is the ticker to which you want to download the market data. That can be a ticker on the US stock exchange, on the Hong Kong stock exchange, on Indian stock exchange, on the DAX, on the CAC 40 for people who are trading on the Paris stock exchange. Yes, you first of all have to specify the ticker from which ticker do you want the market data. After that, you have two choices. Either you can select start and end date, or you can also select an interval and a period. Here I'm selecting a period of 1 day because that's an algorithm that you are going to deploy for day trading perspective, and an interval of 1 minute. So let's execute this first line of code. And what we got here, we got what we have seen within our plan. We got our OHLC plus volume data. We got our OHLC data. And before to go further in this way, what I can propose you, we can just like quickly plot the market data. up. And here we have like Tesla market data during the last day, which was like on the 8th October 2020, which was the last day on the US market. Yes, just like you just have to copy and paste the code. And for instance, for people who don't have the notebook, if you want, I can just like paste the code right here in the chat. Okay, now we got our market data. And before to go further, because that's working for, and that's the case for multiple API, mainly for the API which are working for your broker. Sometimes you got some values of 0. For instance, if we take live data for the BTC USD, you will see that sometimes you have like a volume traded of 0. And what we are going to do right now, just before to start, what we are going to do, we are going to first of all clean our data. So, and how we are going to clean our data? Essentially, there's just one column which is going to have like some missing data, which is the column of the volume traded, because sometimes mainly when you take 1 minute interval, if you take 5 minute interval, this issue must not be existing. But when you take 1 minute interval, sometimes you have volume traded of 0, because sometimes there is like a lag between the API and the information which is shared. And what we are going to do right here, we are going to start by removing all the rows where we have a volume of 0, because otherwise, what is going to be the consequence for the algorithm if you have like a volume traded of 0? The algorithm is going to understand it this way. Let's say you have your market data. Here you have the column which is called the volume, and here at the end you're going to have your prediction. Okay, based on the percentage return, this one has been a good trade, this one a good trade, this one bad, and this one a bad trade. And let's say here you have like a volume traded of 0, and let's say here as well you have volume traded of 0. How the algorithm is going to think? The algorithm is going to think, oh, okay, it's time that I have like a volume traded of 0. That means the market is going up. Here, like 1 corresponds to market going like on a huge gain, and -1 markets is going on the huge loss. I'm going to talk afterwards like how we are going to classify it, but for now, just like here's like what we call the signal. If you have like a volume traded of 0, then the computer will think that each time that you have like a volume traded of 0, the volume traded of 0, that means that you have to invest in the market, which is a fake signal. That's why for each rows, like on our data set, we are like something like 428 rows, which correspond to the 428 minutes on which the market has been open. We are going just to erase all the rows where we have like a volume traded of 0, in order to avoid to give wrong information to the algorithm. Okay, and that's going to be the first step before even to start doing anything. The first step that you must do is to remove all, and here I'm talking about this algorithm, but you're gonna have to apply it for any type of algorithm if you want to work on the stock market, because also each time that you're gonna get a new data row, sometimes you're gonna have like a volume traded of 0, and the algorithm is going to see what's happened in the past and to make you the prediction based on it. That's why it's important to, first of all, start by removing this type of mistakes, of silly data. So if I'm not clear enough, guys, just let me know in the comments. I just hope everything is clear so far. Just let me know like on the chat if everything is clear. So first thing that we are going to do, like I can send you like the line of code within the chat. We are going to drop all the rows where we have like a volume traded of 0. Okay, perfect. And for instance, if we take a look at the data set, we had like 390 rows. So sorry, it was like the wrong number earlier. And now, because we had like some lag on the market, like it was on Friday, I believe we didn't drop any row. Let's say if we type df, the length of our data frame, we must have 390 because we are not like the market is closed. Yeah, we have 390. Whilst, for instance, if we do that with, let's say, BTC USD, let's take the last 3 days and an interval of 5 minutes, you will see that's going to drop. You will see that's going to drop multiple rows. Up. Okay, here you have 800 rows and here you have 397 rows. On the crypto market, you have like multiple rows with missing values, but just I would not recommend Yahoo Finance API for the crypto market. I would mainly recommend you to use Binance API. And if you want to know how to use Binance API, I can share with you a link for a step-by-step tutorial on Medium, which is explaining like how you can use how you can get cryptocurrency data using Binance API. But for the stock market, as you can see, that's something which is very accurate. Up, let's go back on 1 day and 1 minute interval. Up, let's execute. Up. Perfect. Okay. Now what we are going to do, we are going to CCXT. What do you mean by CCXT? Are you talking about the API, Chris? If you can just answer me on the chat. I never tested this API. Essentially, if I can recommend you some API which are working well, I like using Yahoo Finance API because that's super easy to use and that's super and you can get the data very quick for the US stock exchange and except the volume, that's quite accurate. Otherwise, there is Alpaca that I'm using, and there is, I'm going to type it in the chat, Alpaca and Binance for crypto. But never tested CCXT API. And for people who have the license, you can use Bloomberg, which is another API, but that's quite expensive. Yeah, like usually, like when I was working for Deloitte a few years ago, we were using Bloomberg API, which was like even more accurate. But like that's something like 6,000 per month, if I'm not wrong, in terms of fees. Okay, cool. Okay, now we can. Now we got our market data. We just cleaned the market data. We cleaned the volume up. And what we are going to do now, if you go back on our plan, once we got our market data, we're gonna need to add different. Variable to. We're gonna need to add different variables to our algorithm, and in order to give the maximum information to the algorithm, in order to have the best prediction at the end. Essentially, in order to know like which type of variable you should add, something which is very interesting to do is to go through, but that's something very advanced, to go through sensitivity analysis. Essentially you bring different variables. To your data set, and you check which one based on which one makes the prediction the most sensitive to. There's different way to make a sensitive analysis, but I already make it before, which means that I'm going to go directly through this step. Like I'm not going to go too much in depth on how to develop a sensitivity analysis, but that's something that's something that you can use in order for you, for instance, if you want to see like how how does that work. Let me just once again just try to catch my my code. One second. Perfect. Okay. Perfect. Yes. So the indicator that we are going to adhere to the AI, in order for the AI to understand much better the market, in order to get the best prediction, are going to be the following one. That's going to be from sensitivity analysis, the one on which the market is reacting best. There is the RSI, which is the relative strength index. You're gonna have the SAR, which is an algorithm which is going to which is going to tell you if the market is reversing. That's something which is very interesting to use. You have the ADX, even though you never heard about this type of algorithm. Essentially, that's just like mathematical formulae, which is giving you some indication about how the market is currently acting, and which is going to index our values, which is going to be something which is key. And after that, we are going to get to index our value in order to sense the volatility. I'm going to go much more in depth afterwards. Sense volatility. Okay, guys. Now we can go back. But so the first three indicators that we're going to develop, I'm just going to give you like more information about Investopedia, about this indicator, just for you to understand. If you want to, like, for me, like the best educational platform, if you want to know more about different indicators for trading, the best platform is Investopedia, because that gives you like a good resume of what is about a good definition of the different indicators. So the first indicator that we are going to use is the RSI. Essentially, how does the RSI is working? The RSI is going to work by this way. If we go back on the, okay, let me try to copy and paste it here. Wait. Okay, let me try to paste it. Okay, yes. If you take a look at the RSI, the value of the RSI going to be determined by 100 minus 1. Yes, let's go it. Minus 100 divided by 1 plus average gain plus average loss. That's important mainly for you to understand now what is the intuition behind the RSI. So 1 divided, let's go back. Yes, 100 divided by 1 plus 100 divided, yes, 100 divided by 1 plus average gain on a period. Let's say we're taking an RSI, and here you have to specify the number of periods. Let's say we're taking a number of periods. Let's call it T, because that's over time. Let me go back. Yes, RSI of T, and let's say here T equal 10 period, which means that you are going to take here T period gain, and here average loss over a period of T. And so how the RSI is going to work, essentially, we're gonna have not finding this using Zoom browser and disconnect from the call. Please repost. Sorry, Michael, I did not got the Python notebook. I'm using Zoom browser and disconnect from the call. Please repost. Okay, if you want, I'm going to repost you the link to get the notebook up. Okay. Otherwise, Michael, you can just follow the session, and I'm going to send an email to everyone who attends this meetup at the end. If you want, if you can't get it, you can at least get a mathematical intuition today, and how you can develop AI for trading. And you can get, and I'm going to send you like the final Python notebook on your by email through the meetup. Okay, so yes, and how the RSI is going to work? We are going on a period of T that have to be defined by us. Like, let's say here, if we're taking like a period of 10 days, which means we are going to take a look on the 10 latest day, if like the market did that, and we are going to take to choose like 10 period. Let's say like if we're taking a 10 period of 1 minute up, let's say that's the market data, and for this period you have like your entry, your up, and here, for instance, like up, that's the market data, and based on this 10 period, here we got like a period of gain, here period of gain, here period of loss, here period of gain, here period of loss, and based on the last 10 period of gain and last 10 period of loss, that's going to make an average. let's say here we get plus 23 USD. Here we get plus 22 USD. Here we get minus 40 USD on the share price. Here we got plus 5 USD. We are going to make an average of each period of high on which we got a plus, and here we're going to make an average of each period where the market went down on the last 10 period. And let's say we're choosing a T of 14, we are going to use just going to be the last 14 period instead of the last 10 period. And how you can develop it through Python. You have two ways. For instance, for people who are enrolled in the course, you have like a full description about the RSI. I'm showing you like how to do it like manually, and how you can do it like I think it's in this part. Yes, that's the RSI. You can see like how to do it like manually, and how to do it like with the Talib library. But here, like in this example, we are going to use Talib library in order to gain a little bit of time. Okay, let's go on the RSI up. Yes, so and how we are going to define it, we are going to use in this case we are going to use Talib library in order to get our RSI value. Here I set up a value of 10 period, which means n here corresponds to the t within the equation. Here t equal 10, and here for our case n equal 10. So n also, you know what, we can just call it t in order for you to don't be disturbed. And how we can get the RSI? You have two ways. Either you can calculate it manually, which is taking you around 8 lines of code if you want to download it manually, which means you have to replicate the calculation. But here, what we are going to do, we are going to use Talib library, which is the library which going to on which you have all the different trading indicators without to go too much in depth. So, and how does that work? You're gonna type TA, which corresponds to Talib library that we download just right here. You have Talib. You're gonna type TA dot. If you type shift, you're gonna have all the different indicators that you can have. And here, the indicator that we are going to use is the RSI, TA.RSI, and between parentheses. And if you type shift, you're gonna get the information. The first argument that you're gonna need gonna be what they call the real, and the second one that's going to be the time period. And if you take a look about the real, what they want as an input, they want the array, which means they want the information as an array. And what corresponds to the real for Talib library, that corresponds to the market data. The market data that we are going to use right here, we are going to use the closing price. We are going to calculate the RSI based on the closing price, which means we are going, if we go back on our graph about the RSI, here about the market movement, that's going to be the closing price. Essentially, if you're taking the opening price, it corresponds to the same values, just only different is just you are going to take the opening price, because here the closing price here corresponds to the opening price right here for this new time period. And what we are going to do right here is like we are going to use the closing price, but you can use the opening price. That's going to work as well. So and if you take a look about the specification, Talib wants the closing price within an array. That means that we're going to need to convert the closing price as an array. That's why we're going to use numpy.array and convert it as an array. Up numpy.array, and between parentheses, we're going to type tf close. Up, we got our array, and yes, and what we are going to do, we are going to ask Plotly to take the closing price with one row. We are going to take like to make the difference on the last 10 rows with like to don't take the last value, but just. And I'm going to tell you why we are going to do that. So this is my open. Yes. Okay. So, and what we're going to do, we are going to ask, it's not something which is mandatory, but it's just like a good way of using it. We are going to ask to use like a shift of one, which means like when we're going to have like a new line of code based on RSI on the previous line, like on RSI with a shift of one, which means like you are going to take this line of code, this RSI, the last 10 period of RSI, here the last 10 period, because if you are not doing that, that's going to take also this RSI, and what we want to make the move based on the previous RSI. So what we are going to do, just like the closing price with a shift of one, and the second argument that we want, that's the time period, which means the time period that's going to be equal to t, which is defined just here, which means like we want 10 time period. You can also change the time period. Let's say you can switch to 14 or to 7. There's two other time periods which are like highly lagged, and that a lot of people like, a lot of traders are using. But here, for example, I'm going to use the time period of 10. Okay, and now we got our RSI up, yes, and we are going to store all this value within a new column. As you can see, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, the first 10 value showing a missing value, and that makes sense because if you don't have 10 values, you can't calculate the RSI because you are calculating the value from 1 to 10, and we are going to store that within a column which is going to be called RSI up equal to TA.10, and now we have our new column which is called RSI. And for instance, now if we print our data frame up, okay, now we have like our RSI. And something that you can do, for instance, here I already like gave you the code in order to plot the RSI. So let me share with you in the code. Let me share with you the code for this line of code. Up. Yes. Okay. Now, for instance, you can just like plot the RSI on the market. And how does the RSI is working? When you have like a high value of RSI, that means that you have to sell. For instance, here, as you can see on the RSI, went above 80%, which is showing like a strong selling signals. And same here. For instance, if you would have used the RSI, you would have sold the market as soon as you get over 80, which means that it's 3:34 p.m. And if you take a look here at 3:34 p.m., that you are exactly when the market switch from a bull trend to a bear trend. When I'm talking about bear trend, that means like a loss trend, and bull trend, that means like the market went up. And here, when you have the RSI, which is going to reach 20, which means like that's 351, and you can see here at 351, the market went up. And why the RSI is so accurate, so relative strength index is so accurate, is because that's widely used in the market, and there was a lot of trading robots that are based on the RSI. That's why, as you can see, that's something which is able to predict the market quite well. That same here, like you reach like a very low level of RSI, buying signal. Up here, you got like a selling signal when you reach this point. Boom, the market went down. And yeah, that's, as you can see, that's something which working very well, mainly for the US market. Okay, now that we got the RSI, what we are going to do, we are going to add different trading indicators, and this RSI is just going to be like a new information that we are going to give to the robot. Essentially, like the robot or the automation is nothing more than just like a mathematical equation. Essentially, you are going to give it like information through variables. You are going to insert the maximum of variables within the machine, and the machine, based on all these variables, we are going to specify all the different parameters, like some let's say some parameters button, like you can like switch like different parameters, and based on these parameters and this variable that you bring inside, the robot or the AI or the machine learning algorithm is going, when you're gonna give him new information, when you're going to give to this robot new information, new variables, that's going to predict how the market is going to work, essentially. And here, what we have just done here by adding the RSI, we just like added a new information to the AI. Okay, guys, just let me know again in the comments if everything is clear. I know sometimes I can go too quick, or I can be not enoughly detailed on some points. Just if that's not clear enough, just feel free to let me know. So how can the RSI still work if the signal is widely used? It shouldn't be arbitraged away. Essentially, like, so I'm not sure if I totally understood your question, but why the RSI is working well in order to predict the market is because there is a lot of people who are using the RSI to trade, and there is a lot of robots who are using the RSI to trade, which means like something that you can see very often on the market. And here, as you can see, that's the latest market data. As soon as the RSI is reaching 75 or 80%, as you can see, a lot of people are going to sell their asset and their stock. And for instance, for you or for your trading robot, that's information which is interesting, because the trading robot is going to modelize and to understand by itself that when you have a high RSI, there is high probability to go down very soon after. And essentially like the algorithmic trading, and when you're trying to predict the market, and for most of the algorithm, there is a lot of mass psychology, which means like for a lot of traders, there is like a lot of mass psychology, which means if you are able to understand the psychological pattern, you can quickly understand the market. I'm not sure if I answered your question, Chris. Just let me know. It should be arbitrage away. What do you mean by shouldn't be arbitrage away? If you can be just a little bit more specific about this second question. Not sure if I got it. Yeah, okay. But yeah, just about the RSI, why it's very important to add RSI to your trading bot is because that's something which there was a lot of trading bots who are using the RSI, which means like the goal in the market is not to be to have like a behavior which is different for other. The goal in the market to have is to be the first one of having the behavior that other people are going to have. And when you see like a low RSI, that's very likely that a lot of people are going to buy this stock. And when you see a high RSI, that means that it's overbought, and that's very high. That's highly likely, that high probability that a lot of people are going to sell. Yes, exactly, Chris. And there's a lot of people who are trading using the RSI. That's exactly true what you have said. That's why, like, essentially, like if you want, there was like some indicators that are widely used, which are like the moving averages. There is the RSI, there is the Bollinger Band, and why a lot of people are using it, because there is a lot of people who are using this type of indicators. And for instance, just like during the last day, let's say here on Friday, if you would have traded Tesla based on the RSI, you would have bought Tesla around 9:45 p.m. up, sold Tesla like around here, like you went above 70, bought Tesla at this moment. Like here, whilst a lot of people are panicking, the RSI is telling you to buy, to sell Tesla at this moment. Like, and as you can see, as soon as you're going above 80, the market is crashing down. If you take a look in details, we went above 80 at 12:17, and if you take a look at 12:17, that's exactly when the market turned down. And here again, we went above 80 at 3:34 p.m. And if you take a look here, like boom, 3:34 p.m., the market switch again. Yes, Sagar, like there is like a lot of similarity between RSI and stochastic. But just for instance, Chris, if you just like had your RSI during the day, you would just have sold at this moment and let the market crash down and use it this way. And we're just giving it like yeah, if you want, like we can at the end of this when we're gonna finish that, I'm going to show you like this algorithm from the BTC. The only thing is just like for the crypto market, the variable that you are going to use, essentially that's nothing more than just like variable that you are going to add. For the crypto markets, the influential variable are going to be slightly different, but the RSI is working also for the crypto market, but just the influence of the RSI is not as much good than if you use the RSI on the US market. Because, and one of the main reasons is the ratio between professional traders and individuals. For instance, if you go on the US market, in terms of volume traded, there is something like 95% which is traded by professional on the US market, whilst on the crypto markets, that's something which is close by 20%. That's why you have like different variables which are going to be acting in order to influence the market. That's why the RSI is working so much well on the US market. And here I'm just talking in terms of volume traded. And in terms of number of people who are trading in terms on this market, that's something which is 80-20, 80 professional and 20% individuals. When I'm taking professional, I'm also talking about robots. And on the crypto market, there is like much more individuals, which means that the variables that are influencing these professional traders, like the mathematical variables, are different to the variables that are influencing the crypto market. But overall, that's something which is working, but not as much influential than on the US market. Yes. Okay. Let's go back on our model. I'm going to be slightly quicker on this algorithm. I highly recommend you to go more in depth on Investopedia in order to know more about SAR, ADX, SMA, and correlation coefficients. Yes, because otherwise we can speak during hours about this point, because that's very, very interesting. All of these indicators, are some indicators quite interesting. There is SAR. Last time during the first session, we talked about the SAR last time during the first session when we developed our first trading bot. And yes, let me just pass the code right here. Up in short description, various indicators. Yes, some work some don't depend on when you watch the market. Yeah. Yes. So guys, I'm just giving you the code within the chat for you to go quicker on how to develop your code. Up. Okay, cool. Okay. I'm going to pass the code right here. Perfect. Thank you. Yes, thanks, Christian. Yes. Okay. Now we can go one step further. Okay. Now let's just oh, sorry, I put it. That was the second one, and for the SAR. Up. Sorry. Up, and here is the. Okay. Up. Okay. Okay, something is wrong. DF. Okay. Yes, I made a mistake. DF. Up. Okay. Okay. Yes. N is the number of periods. Up. Sorry. Up. Let's do that. Okay. N equal 10. Yes. Okay. Up. Okay. Now let's print our data frame. Okay. Yes. Just for the ADX, I'm also using Talib library. You can either develop it mathematically speaking. Again, if you go on Investopedia, you're gonna have more information about this SAR. Parabolic SAR, essentially, just quickly, the SAR is an indicator which is giving you information when the market is reversing, which means when you are going from an uptrend to a downtrend. That's an indicator that's giving you this information. And the ADX is again another indicator. Again, you can just go on Investopedia that's the strength indicators, which is giving you essentially that's going to give you information about the speed of the market, and yes, and the current trend of the market. Okay, okay, let's go back on our code, and we are going to use like the simple moving average. We have covered the simple moving average last time when we drew our support and resistance level, and when we built our first automation, automation for trading robot last week. No, sorry, not last week, 2 weeks ago, and yes, sorry, I just got a message. Yeah, and yes, and so now what we are going to do, we are just like going to add this new variable. We added like SAR, ADX, correlation coefficient, and SMA. And guys, again, I forgot to specify. I'm going to send you like a link within the chat. You can go on my Medium page because I already like write stories about it. If you go on my Medium page. Yes, that's this article on which I'm giving like much more details. This articles and this article on which I'm giving like more details, like in terms of equation, in terms of all the different type of classification and the code and everything. If you want, I can just give it to you within the chat if you want to go and take a look after. And yes, I'm giving like much more details about the SAR and the ADX. So now what we have just done right now, we just like added like 4 different indicators, and before to go further, what we're gonna do, we are going to pass the high, low, open, and closing price and open price for the previous minutes, for the previous minute data. Essentially, why we are going to do that? Essentially, we are going to take like all this value and to give this value to the previous minute data. Let me explain you why we are going to take this step and why this step is very important. Why this step is important? Here you have your state of data, which means like you have your data, how your data are. Like here you got like your OHLC data, and why we are going to take a lag of 1 row for the OHLC data. It's because when we're gonna get our new market data, what we want to get how was the market data just before, and that's a way for us to sense the volatility, which means like we are going to, for this row is going to be no value, but we're gonna get the data for, sorry, that's the inverse. Sorry, essentially we are going to do it this way. 1 second. We are going to get like here we're going to have like no value, and why we are going to do that? Essentially because based on the previous minute data, when we're going to get like a new row, we're going to get like all the previous minute data, and based on that, that's going to be something which is going to give to the robot a way to sense the volatility. That's quite hard to explain it in simple terms. I'm trying to make it as clear as possible. Okay, let me try to explain you. Yeah, essentially by giving like the previous minute like OHLC value, that's just gonna be 1 way for us to sense to see the difference between what happened now and what happened before, and at the end you will see that the robot is going to absorb this information by itself and to predict based on that. Essentially, that's something which is widely used in algorithmic trading. For instance, if you there is like this theory have been developed by Tiang, which is one of the most famous algorithmic trader, and there is his book on Amazon. If you want, I can send you the link for his book, and he's explaining it like much more in depth. Why, when you're developing your trading bots, when you use machine learning for a trading bot, that's always good to add to add that's just one way of working, to add your previous minutes OHLC data, and how that's going to help the AI to predict much better, to have like much better prediction of the market. Essentially, like, yeah, what we are going to do here, we're just going to create a column that we are going to call previous high, previous low, and previous close. A column that we are going to call up prev high, and this column is going to be called previous high. That's going to be equal to the highest value dot shift 1, which means that what you are going to do are just going to, and let's say if we print the data sets up, as you can see here, we don't have any value. And what we have done, we're just like taken, like, for instance, like here, the previous high was like 796. Here, like what we just got this value, which has been like, which has been fixed one row just below. And that's just one way for the algorithm to sense the volatility. The algorithm is going to see the difference and to be able to sense the volatility. We are going to do the same for the where did I did it? Okay, create column high low. Yes, okay, yes, we are going to do the same for the previous high, previous low. That's going to be exactly the same. Up equal to df low dot shift and type 1 up. And here, what we are going to do, we are going to type previous open price up, and we are going to add it here, equal df open. And as you can see here, we are not going to take the previous closing price, because the previous closing price is going to be equal to the open price. That's why that's not something which is needed. But now, if you do that up and we print, we're gonna get our previous low, previous high, and previous open price. And new column that we are going to create is the difference between the current minute open and the last minute open. We are going to call this difference df OO up, which is going to be equal to df. Yes, essentially what we are going to do, to make a difference between the previous opening price and the current opening price. For instance, here, like, we got a difference of 3 USD. Here we got a difference of 1.4 or 1.5 USD, and all this information that's going to give, let's say, for the algorithm, how the algorithm is going to work. How the algorithm is going to work, we're gonna get this column up, we're gonna get our data, and within our data, we're currently creating like the OO column. So that's going to be the difference between the previous open price and the current open price. And let's say here we got plus 3.5 USD. Here we got minus 1.2. Here we got plus 10 USD. Here we got plus 1.5 USD. And all this information for the algorithm. Let's say if you have like, let's say if on our new data you got like a variation of plus 5 USD, and let's say this trade have been positive, and after we got like plus 3.5 USD, we got a minus. And here we got like a minus. Because we got plus 5, the algorithm is going to clusterize it in the same cluster as this value. Let's say here we got like minus 1.5 after plus 10. When you're going to get plus 5, because like that's going to be very similar in terms of pattern. And each time we get like a plus 5, we got a minus 1.5 just right after. That's going to give a signal to the bot, sell the market. That's why when I was telling you that's a way to sense the volatility, because when the algorithm is going to see high value in this column, it's going to create like a variables in order to clusterize the data. Not sure if I'm clear enough, guys. But let me know if you got the point. Otherwise, I can elaborate a little bit more. And feel free to ask the question. I have just the chat just in front of me. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to create like a first column, which is going to be the difference between the open price, which means that's going to be equal of df df open up df open minus either you can just like use previous open, or you can just copy and paste that. Yes, let's just copy and paste it, but it's exactly the same if you directly take the column. Just up, and we are going to do the same between the open and the previous close. Up, and we are going to take yes. Okay, sorry again, just close. Okay, perfect. Okay, up. Now we can just execute. That's going to be called OC. Okay, just in order just for us to have something more organized, we can just also add the previous clause. Yes, up. It's going to be a little bit more organized. Okay, let's execute. Perfect. Now we just created like 4 new columns, and this column are just created just for the algorithm to sense that just a way. Yes, exactly, Christian. It just like it just essentially what we are going to do now before to run our machine learning algorithm. We are just giving as much information as possible to the AI to think by itself and to find the pattern by itself and to clusterize by itself by the best way possible. This column that we have added here is just a way for the computer to get information about the volatility, because what is interesting when you have your OO and OC is like you're gonna get like a value, and when you're gonna get high value, you're gonna get another variable in order to be able to clusterize even better. And at the end, that's going to, if you want to see it like through a graph, that's gonna look to a graph which is going to look something like that. Here, let's say you have your RSI. Here you have your OO column. Here you have your OC column. Here you're gonna get your ADX column. Here you're gonna get, it's not like a 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional graphic. It's like a graph through, and you're gonna get all your different variables, and you're gonna get, let's say, like different clusters here, a cluster here, like, and like based on this cluster, like it's going to predict the market. Yes, essentially, like that's a good point. That's a good point, Christian. You can use the ATR. That's another alternative. I use like some variables, but you can use as much variable as you want. I use these variables also because one of the key, for instance, you can use 200 variables if you want. You're gonna get as much information, but also one of the keys also you will see when you're gonna run the machine algorithm is to have because that's a day trading robot that I'm developing now. One of the key gonna be to be efficient and to have like an algorithm which can run within 10 seconds. That's going to be a real challenge, but that's something that you can build just by making like sensitivity analysis before to insert your variables. You're just going to take like a variable which but ATR is like one of the most sensitive variables, Christian. That's a very good point. That's something that I would have used. That's something that I would have used, and that you can use, for instance, if you want to develop this robot afterwards as well. Okay, now let's go. Let's create like a new column, which is going to be the column on which we are going to calculate. The return. Now, next, what we're going to do is we are going to calculate the return for every data point. And also what we're going to do, we're also going to save the return. We're also going to save the return minutes per minute. Why we are going to do that is, again, just a matter of variables. And this type of variables are very, very interesting for the algorithm. I'm just going to explain you why. Here, what we got so far, we got our data sets. We got our trading indicators. We got like RSI. We got ADX. Sorry. You can add, as you mentioned, Christian, you can add the ATR. we got some values in order to sense the volatility, you know, like plus 5 USD, plus 8 USD between closing price and opening price. Here, let's say you have plus 1.5, and all this value just a way when you're gonna get, like, let's say here, when you're gonna get new data with plus 8, that's just a way for the algorithm to know, okay, here we are like on a period of high volatility. We got like this value that we developed in order to sense the volatility. And now what we're going to do right now, we are going to add some variables. We are going to add some variables in order for us to get the return. And what we are going to do here, we are going also to get the return minute per minute, which means that we're going to get the return for t plus 1, return t minus 1, return t minus 2, return t minus 3, return t minus 4, like until a period that we are going to define. And why we are going to do that, I'm just going to explain you why, because essentially we have to put ourselves in the skin of the machine learning algorithm. Is nothing more, machine learning algorithm is nothing more than giving the data to the machine. And also that's Yann LeCun, who was like the head of AI at Facebook in 2013. He said something about deep learning, but that's something which working also for machine learning, but slightly but different way. But overall, that's something which is quite similar. Essentially, the AI is nothing more than letting the machine modelizing. He said that in the conference. He said, no, sorry. What he said in the conference, he say, never human gonna modelize better than the machine. Never human going to modelize better than the machine. Going to modelize better than the machine. Better than the machine. Better than the machine. Essentially, that's exactly the concept of machine learning or AI. Is the fact to let the computer modelize by himself. But for the computer to modelize by the best way possible, you need to give to the computer the best quality of data as possible. And that's exactly why we are going to do that. Is because, for instance, let's say between the last minute you got like a return of plus 1.3% on the market between the last two periods. And let's say on the t minus 1, you got a return of plus 3%. On t minus 2, you got a return of plus 8%. On t minus 3, you got a return of plus 12%. As you can see here, you can see like a pattern. You can see that the return is going down between like t minus 3 and the return at t like between the last two columns, the latest return. And that's just going to be like information that you are going to give to the computer. And let's say you have like a return during the last 12 minutes. Let's say you are going to be much more down on the data set. And here you got like a return of minus 3%. Here a return of minus 0.5. Here of minus 0.1. And here on t minus 1, you got a return of plus 1%. And here a return of 1.5%. As you can see, you are going to go on the high trend. And based on how this data, the computer is going to find some trend. That's why we are going to add to our data set the return based on the last X period, just to give little bit more information to the computer. And that's going to be the last variable that we are going to add within this example. But again, you can feel free to add, but I'm just giving you like some tips that I learned through my experience. I have been doing that for 3 years, and I think I read at least 8 books on this subject, and that's something which is mentioned in a lot of books. As I told you last time, there's like two ways if you want to scale in this field. It's either you can read from articles, from blogs, from Algorithmic Trader, or through books. Like in the books, that's very powerful because you have like direct access to people who have a lot of experience. And that's exactly what we are going to do here within this line. And if you take a look at the data set right here, here, as you can see, we have like the return on the last 9 period. Like we got like the return, and here's like the return in terms of percent. As you can see, that's the return per minute, which is like the percent is like super low. Here, like we got like 0.3%, which is quite high, but like overall, like as you can see, that's quite low value because within 1 minute you don't have so much variation. But we are like on data reading perspective. But like as you can see, for the computer gonna have like the last 9 period and is going to compute by itself this value in order to see the trend, like based on the latest variation and what's happened before, and it's going to compute by itself. So now we just like added all the different variables to our data set in order to give the best information as possible to the AI. What we are going to do now that we gave all this information to the AI, we are going to tell to the AI which thread is good and which thread is not good. Here we got our initial data set. We got all the new variables that we have added. Let's put it in black. But for the computer, it will not understand like, okay, he got this data, but if you don't tell him what is good and what is wrong, the computer will not understand like what is a good thread and what is a wrong thread. And how we are going to discriminate our population in order to tell to the computer what is a good thread or a bad thread. We are going to put on the x-axis the percentage return, which means like between each minute we got like a return, like between like let's say it's 9:46 a.m. The market just opened. You got and at 9:47 a.m. you got plus 3%. I'm going on bigger like values, but like you never get 3% within 1 minute. That would be much more something like 0.03%. Let's say you got plus 0.3%. If compared to the entire population, that's something which is corresponds to a good thread. That's gonna have to be classified as 1. Yes, and that's exactly how we are going to work here. Like let's say up here we have 0% return, and we're gonna get like all our different points. Let's say here like you got like minus 0.1%. Let's say you have like 10 points. Here like at minus 0.2 you got like 5 points. You're gonna get your population of data, something which is going to look similar to that. And how we are going to discriminate the population, we are going to give a signal. Okay, on the first 33% or 34% percentile, for all the data where we are like on the first 34%, we are going to give a signal of -1, which means that something where the market is going to lose money. And on the top 34%, that's going to be a value of +1, based on the return. Because at the end of the day, what is your goal is when you're gonna get a new information here, you're gonna get your new information. Your goal gonna be to predict, and here gonna be your prediction, gonna be to predict if that's going to be a 1, that's going to be a 0 or -1. And let's say if the machine algorithm is telling you that's going to be a 1, boom, you sell an information to your trading bot by the market. And if you see a -1, you're gonna need to send an information to your trading bot to sell the market, to sell your shares. Let's say if you own a stock with Tesla, you are going to send an information to the market. Okay, you have to sell the stock. Okay, I don't know if you got how we are going to discriminate, but that's just a way. And all these data points gonna have all these variables. Like for all these data points, you're gonna have something like I don't remember, something like 18 variables behind each data point. But we are going to discriminate based on the return. And here, that's what we call, for people who have experience in machine learning, is what we call the target. And that's how we are going at the end, like to predict the market. And you will see that at the end, that's something, the fact to clusterize, that's something which is working super, super, super good in order to, for instance, to predict the market and to create your trading robot based on it. Okay, that's what we are going to do here. I'm going to send you the code. That's quite simple. that's quite simple on how to calculate the return. I'm going to send the code within the chat if you want to copy and paste. Okay, and now we are going to add. Okay, no, sorry. Sorry, I did something. Yes, I calculated the return. Okay, okay, I think no need. We already calculated the return. Sorry. Okay, we just need directly to calculate the correlation coefficient. And how we are going to calculate the correlation coefficient, we are going to do something like df.locate up correlation. Oh, 1 second. Just trying to get my code. Okay. Okay. Yeah, essentially, Valentin, sorry. Sorry, I'm just going to send you the code. Essentially, we're basing ourselves on the correlation coefficient. You can just copy and paste it, and we can go up a little bit further. Does it only work for short-term interval, or can you implement for longer interval? Yes, essentially, you can implement it for longer interval. The only thing, just the variables are going to be slightly different. The variables are going to be slightly different for longer interval. And yeah, the only difference is just that. Sorry, yes, guys. Just I forgot to do something before. I just forgot to mention the fact that for the correlation coefficient, we need to make some trim before to start. Yes. Okay. I just remember that. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. What I sent you just what I have sent you just right now within the chat. Yes, what I've sent you just right now is if you go back on the correlation coefficient column, yes, it's this column. As you can see, sometimes you have like NA value, and what we're gonna do here within this column. Within this column, we are going to remove all the NA for the correlation coefficient column, because what I noticed is like for this column, it just essentially just a little bit of data cleaning with this line in this column, which is calculating like the correlation. That's what we have done. Just right here. When we have like NA value, sometimes that's like kind of creating like some mess with the algorithm. That's just something that I would recommend you to do. Just like to copy and paste this line, it's just like trimming. Yes. What we have to do here is like go back on what we have just talked before and set the signal. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Just to answer your question, Valentin, just before to go further. No, this algorithm is not only working for short-term interval. I just took the example of a day trading perspective, but you can just like modify it. And what I want you to understand today is the mathematical intuition behind using AI for machine learning, and mainly the classification algorithm. You have different family of machine learning algorithms, but something which is working quite well at the moment is the fact to clusterize the data and to work based on it. Okay, let's create like our target column, and this target column that we have defined here, like we are going to call this column the signal up. And how the column signal is going to work? Essentially, we are going to first create the column which is going to be called signal up, df signal, and we are going to create a column filled by 0. And in order to locate the value up, I'm going to be back after like just about the correlation coefficient, because I just want to explain you, but I just want to finish what we started, which means setting the target. That's very important for the machine learning algorithm to set the target. Yes, up we are going to be based on the return. Okay, to locate when the return is going to be above the return up, when it's going to be above the return of the quantile, when the quantile equal 0.66 up, and we are going to alter the column signal with a value of 1. Okay, up, sorry, up, that's bigger, because yeah, when I'm saying 0.66, if you go back on our graph, here, if you go on the graph on how we are going to discriminate the data, here you have like the quantile at 34, and here like 100 minus 34 equal 66, which means like here, like if we want to specify the target of +1, we are going to say, as soon as we have like a return which is above this value of this return value, which is the return value of the quantile at 66, as soon as we have the return which is above this value, let's say if this value is like plus 1.2%, as soon as we have like a return which is above, let's say 2%, we are going to flag with a value of +1, which means here we're going to get a value of +1. That's what we are going to do within this line of code. And here we are going to set up, we are going to set our targets up, and we are going to do exactly the same. We are going to do exactly the same for when we're going to get a value which is going to be below the quantile of 0.34. And here at this moment, what we're going to have done, we're going to have our data set plus our target. Okay. Up, now we are good. And just before to do that, we are going to divide our dataset between the training and the test dataset. Yes, let's go back on our graph here. Up. Here we just see like how we are going to discriminate our data. We got our datasets. We are going to create our signal column. Up. But before to create our signal column, we are going to divide the data set between the training set and the test set. Essentially, because how the machine learning algorithm is going to work, we are going to train the machine learning based on this training set. We are going to train it, which means like we are going to give all this data. We are going to give all this data to the computer to modelize, to create a model based on that, a predictive model based on that. And here you have the test data set, and you don't gonna have like the prediction. We are going to insert this data within the prediction model, and based on the data that we have inserted, we're gonna get a prediction up for this data, what we're gonna call the prediction value, and we are going to compare the prediction with the real data. Let's say here we got 1, and here we got -1. That means that's a bad prediction, because the algorithm told to set the market once the market went up. And let's say here we got 1, and here we got 1. The market predicted well the market. So before to start like setting up the target, we are going to first start by dividing our data set with the data that we are going to use for training the model and the data that we are going to test the model. So, and how we are going to do that? We are going to take 80% of the data for the training set and 20% for the test set. And we are just going to create a variable that we are going to call split in order to split the data. Okay, let's do that now. Essentially, the value of 80/20 depends on the size of the data set. For instance, you have said like Valentin, let's say you have like a much bigger data set, which let's say 10,000 values. You can go on a data set with 95.5. Yes, Christian, we are going to cover like on how to evaluate the model at the end. Essentially, to evaluate the model, you have like 4 different ways, which are like interesting. The first way is your confusion matrix, because you can have like a view on how the computer predicted the market. The way to evaluate the model, that's going to be the F-score, in order for you to get the prediction. To get the accuracy. In order to evaluate, you're also going to have like the Sharpe ratio, and most importantly, you are going to let the algorithm, this predictive model, you are going to give to this predictive model a real market data with that prediction, and let the model trade, and you will see if the model trade well, or if the model made like just wrong trade. And if I want to show you like how does that gonna look like at the end, let me try to see if I have like yes. For instance, that's how like the evaluation gonna look like at the end. That's going to be like how the model is trading and how the market is acting. And here's going to be the confusion matrix. We're going to talk about it, but we are going to see that like we are going to evaluate the model at the end. Now, on which step we are now? Now we are like currently. Now we are currently like what we have done so far. We have like get our data sets and give information for the machine learning to be able to predict the market by a good way. Okay, wow, I think we're going to go very far in terms of time. I'm just thinking something I can propose you guys, because like that's already 1 hour and 41 minutes that we started the presentation. Let me know if you want to cover everything now, or if you want to continue this session next Sunday. Just let me know what you prefer in the chat, just quickly, because I just don't want to lose your attention, because like the hyper parameters are something which are like which are key in order to modelize the machine learning. If you can just like let's say like if you can just like type if you can just type yes, if you can just type yes, if you want us to split this session into two sessions, or if you want to keep it until the end within this session, just let me know, guys. How do you feel? If you feel comfortable to follow the process today, you can just answer yes or no in the chat. That can be good, guys. Just for me to have like a view. Okay, cool. I got your point, Christian. Yes, you can just go on the chat, guys. Yes, guys, you have the chat, guys. You can just like answer yes or no. What do you want? Okay. If you're okay, cool. Okay. Some people want next week. Okay. Okay. Okay, guys. I think during this session, what we can do, because that's already 1 hour and 41 minutes. I thought I would be mainly because like the concepts. Yes, I'm going to, because also this part is very interesting on how you can execute this machine learning through event trade. Code event trading, which means like how you can, as we did last week, we shown like how like we have seen 2 weeks ago, how to create like event trading code, which means how we can implement this machine learning to a real trading bot. That's something that I wanted to cover, but I think that's going to take a little bit more time. So what I'm going to do, guys, we are just going to finish the last 15 minutes. What I'm going to cover now, we are going to be quicker, like I'm splitting the data set the targets, and introducing about the hyperparameters, because that's something which is very, very, very interesting, how the hyperparameters are working, and the mathematics behind the hyperparameters. I find that very fascinating. What I can propose you to go through that next week, as a lot of people will struggle to keep attention. And also I wanted to go on how we can actually execute this trade on the market. Okay, guys, let's do that. Yes, just yeah, Valentin and Christian. Yeah, we sorry for that, but yeah, I think that's going to be like the best for the entire community. I just hope you find that interesting, guys, at least to see how to implement AI and how the AI is working and how algorithmic trader, like let's say, I have done that when I was working for Goldman Sachs. It was 1 year, a little bit more than 1 year ago, and that's something which is widely used on the market. Okay, guys, thank you, thanks, Christian. Okay, now what we are going to do, as I explained you, we are going to split. Yes, and also I'm going to send you an email with the notebook also for next time. I think I'm going to send it to you directly by email next time. That's going to be yeah, I can share the full notebook as well. Yes, I think I'm not sure if I can send it through the meetup, but I'm gonna try to send it through the meetup. Otherwise, if not possible, I'm going to put this video on the YouTube channel that you can find here. Yes, I'm going to put that through the YouTube channel, the recording of the session, and you can just like you can just go, and I'm going to add that to the YouTube channel, and you're gonna be able to I'm gonna put a link just right down below, and hopefully you're gonna be able to have the notebook. Okay, just before to end this session, we are just going to talk about how, if you want to implement AI and algorithmic trading, how you should split your data. Yes, here we are going to take 80% to 20%, but again, if you have like a bigger data set with like 10,000 values, I'm not taking a data set with 10,000 values, because here I'm on a day trading perspective, which means like the goal is to be able to run the algorithm in 20 seconds max, no more. But let's say if you are going to trade on a day trading perspective, and you're gonna have like 2 or 3 hours to train your algorithm, and let's say you have like 10,000 rows, or let's say 100,000 rows, something that you can do, you can just like take 95% or 99%. But what you have to think when you have to select the percentage of rows that you are going to take for training and test data set, is to take a look at the number of rows that you have. Here we have roughly 400 rows, which means if you are going to take 95%, that's gonna mean that you're gonna get 20 rows to test our model, and you're gonna get 380 rows in order to build our model. As you may be aware, like 20 rows not gonna be enough to test our model. If you go on 95.5, what's here when you go on 80? What's here when we go on 80%, 20%? We're gonna get 80 data points in order to test our prediction model, and we're gonna get 320 data points in order to build our model. That's why we are going to go for 80-20 in terms of split. But again, that's totally up to you. That's totally up to you to go either on 80%, 20%, or 95.5. But like for the size of the data set that we have, which is 400 rows, I would recommend you to go for 80-20. But if you have like a very, very big data set, I can even recommend you to go 99%, 1%. Yes, again, that's just up to you, and that just more you have data points, better gonna be the model. But less you have like percentage, like less you have, like smaller is the test set, and less accurate going to be the prediction. But what is good with trading is because you are going to let the algorithm trade on the market and see how is going to how the algorithm is going to trade on the market. That's why that's very interesting. Okay, now in order to split our data, we are going to go this way. Up. We are going to create like a variable, let's say t equal 0.8. And we are going to say splits equal integer. We want it as an integer t times the length of our data frame. And for instance, we can print the variable splits to see how many values. Okay, we're gonna get 312 values for our training set. Essentially, that represents 80% of the data sets that we have. And yeah, here we're gonna get 312 values for training our data sets. Guys, just run this line of code. That's just like the warning package, because when we are going to run the signals, we're gonna have like some zeros and NA, and that's going to raise you an error message. Yes, and how we are going to base our quantile. Here, that's why I wanted to split the dataset before, is because we are going to get our quantile just based on the, we are going to create our signal, but just for the training dataset. And that's going to be different. Up, split, up. So, and here that's -1. Up. Yes, here essentially what I'm telling to the computer, I'm telling to the computer to go and just to select me, because when you do df return column splits, what the computer is doing is going just to select until the row which is split, which means like until the row 312. Yes, if you don't got this line of code, just let me know. It's something very simple. Nothing complex. Essentially, what we have just done right here, we got our data sets up. We got our data sets. We got like the first 312 rows. We got like the last extra is like roughly 80 rows. And what we have done, we told to the computer to create like a column signals for until the row 312, and that's what we have done just right here, which means we got our prediction signal, and that's what we are going to essentially it should say that's what we have done here, and let's say, and that's based on the return, which means like when we have like a high return, we're gonna get value of 1, an average return of 0, and when we're gonna get loss, it's gonna be a value of -1. Okay. Let's go back on it. Okay, up, we got the return. And yes, and now we got our target. And let's say up, let's print the df up. And now we got our return, which means like here, that means that we got like a bad return. We got -1, and we're gonna let the computer modelize by itself. Okay, guys. Yes, I think the next part I'm gonna go through next time. That's going to be better. Next time, what I'm going to cover is like the different hyperparameters that we have, and how the hyperparameters are going to classify the data and clusterize the data, because you have like different hyperparameters that you are going to use. I was like currently writing an article about it. Let me see. If I can open it. Stories up. Yeah, I was writing an article about it. Yes, essentially, like you have like that's something that we are going to cover next week. But you have 4 main hyperparameters. It's going to be C, gamma, and kernel, and each hyperparameter is clusterizing by different ways. We're going to cover it next week, and you will see how you can hack these hyperparameters to give you but we're gonna cover that next week. But how you can hack these hyperparameters in order to give you the best market prediction, and how all these parameters are giving you like different ways to analyze the market and different angles. and you have like 4 different kernels, and we are going to cover next week. We are going to cover next week why the kernel are, which kernel to use, and I will explain you why you are going to use the Gaussian kernel. But we're going to cover that next week because I really want to go on this point more in depth, because it's going to be key for you to build another AI model for trading. Yes, guys, just before to end the session, I don't know. Okay, we're like almost on time, 1 hour and 54. Yes, guys, just let me know if you have like any question before to end this session. But you will see that next week that's even more exciting, because next week, what we are going to do next week, we are going to build the AI, and we are going to go on even further concept and mathematical intuition, and you will see that something which is super fascinating and super interesting to go about hyperparameters, see how you can hack the brain of the AI in order to get the best prediction, and when we're gonna also let the computer to choose the trade for us. Yeah, guys, just let me know if you have any question. Essentially, I got like a trading record. You can take a look, and that's like the robot that I'm sharing with you is like it's not exactly the robot that I built for. Essentially, for me, like I have like today, I have like 2 main clients. There is like a lot of mathematical intuition behind. That's not exactly the one, but in terms of return, on average, that's like 22% much better than the market on average in terms of currently the market return per month on the essentially I'm trading on the US 30 with this algorithm. It's not something which is like a revolution, but that's something which is give you like, you will see that the algorithm is not like 100% perfect, but in terms of accuracy, you are like around 70 to 80%. No, 80% for the essentially you have like -1, 0, and 1. Okay, let me go. Yes, so I have the confusion matrix here. Yes, you have the accuracy. Yes, that's not something which is like 100% perfect, but on average you can target like 20% better than the current market performance, which is not something which is like crazy, but that's something which is strong, and that's something that you can use for your trading robots. Definitely, and that's something that I'm using for that's a basis that I'm using for different trading robots. And the fact to use classification algorithm for trading, that's something which is working quite well. And next week we are going to see how we can use this machine learning algorithm, and how we can turn this machine learning algorithm to an event driven algorithm, because here that what we are doing here is like the condition, and after that we're going to have to turn it in terms of event driven ways. I don't know if I answered your question, Chris. If I answered your question. Yes, let me know, Chris, if that's clear enough. I think like even me, I'm kind of struggling to get as much accuracy in an answer like now at this time. Let me know if you have like, guys, if you have like any question before we end this session. Cool. Yes, guys, feel free to reach me. Also, we have like a Discord group that you can join if you are interested, on which like we are like multiple people who are like building trading robots, and we very often like sometimes we have like discussion and debate about strategy to use, how to implement it. If you're interested, I can give you like essentially like for a longer period of time, I have like I'm using it through different ways. The way that I've shown you today and the variables that I'm showing you today is for day trading perspective. And again, the variables that you are going to use are going to be slightly different, but about the concept and the intuition behind, which is add parameters, add the return to sense the volatility, add all the returns in order to give the information to the computers. That's exactly the same concepts. How I'm building the other trading robots, that's exactly the same concepts. Yes, there is like no difference. The only difference is the variable that you are going to use. As you can see, like the RSI is working super well in terms of when you take 1 minute interval. On other period of time is working a little bit less good, and like that depend of essentially that's just a matters of variables, and that's just a matters of which variable you have to use, and that's something that's nothing more than that. That's just mathematics at the end, nothing more complex. I don't know if I answer your question, Adam. Okay. Perfect. Okay, guys. So I really hope that has been helpful today, this session. Yeah, and I hope that has been clear enough, all the questions that and I hope I have been able to answer your question. So I'm going to create like a session next week for anyone interested to go through like the machine learning and how we can build your machine learning and how you can implement to an actual trading bot. Okay, cool, perfect. Okay, guys, I'm going to end this session, and yes, let me give you a link to the Discord group if you want to join us. That's quite cool. Like it's just for anyone who have like question, and also like the level in the Discord group is quite large, which means like you have like beginner, you have like people who are very advanced, you have people who have like who are currently working on the market. Like if you want to join, like just like yeah, we're just like debating and talking. I'm just going to give you the link within the chat for the Discord group. Wait, give me 1 second. Okay, so the Discord doesn't open. You know what? Oh, sorry. Now it's open. Up. Let me just give it to you. Up. Invites. Up. Yes. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, guys. I put the link for the Discord group in the chat. You can just like join the group, and you can just join the group, and yeah, like if you have like any question, we can chat in the Discord, and like just feel free. Let's say if you're struggling to implement it or anything, just feel free to reach me, and also I'm like much more active on the Discord. Up.